Youngvestors, kembali lagi di Weekly Review bersama saya, Lauren, dan partner saya, Dasya, yang akan menemani kamu selama beberapa menit ke depan. Yuk, dukung channel ini dengan cara like, share, and subscribe. Berita pertama, Menteri Keuangan Sri Mulyani mengatakan pemberlakuan pembatasan kegiatan masyarakat PPKM memberikan konsekuensi luar biasa terhadap sektor ekonomi. Hal ini karena mobilitas masyarakat dibatasi sangat ketat demi menekan penularan COVID-19. Sri Mulyani menjelaskan mobilitas masyarakat minus 13,1% sepanjang Juli hingga Agustus 2021. Begitu juga dengan aktivitas di industri retail dan rekreasi yang minus 13,1%. Dilansir dari CNN Indonesia, Sri Mulyani mengatakan pertumbuhan ekonomi sudah tumbuh kencang hingga 7% pada kuartal 2 2021. Namun, PPKM akan membuat ekonomi melambat pada kuartal 3 2021. Sri Mulyani berharap realisasi ekonomi akhir tahun masih bisa menyentuh target yang ditetapkan. Tahun ini, pemerintah menargetkan ekonomi Indonesia sebesar 3,7% hingga 4,5%. Berita kedua, mayoritas masyarakat Indonesia masih terkonsentrasi pada nasi sebagai sumber karbohidrat sehari-hari. Padahal, dengan kekayaan biodiversitas yang dimiliki, masyarakat memiliki lebih banyak pilihan untuk memenuhi kebutuhan nutrisinya, salah satunya dengan sorghum. Biji-bijian itu pernah mendominasi pertanian masyarakat di Nusa Tenggara Timur. Namun, popularitasnya menurun seiring waktu lantaran mobilisasi beras atau nasi oleh pemerintah. Padahal, kandungan nutrisi sorghum tak kalah dari beras. Belakangan, biji-bijian itu mulai kembali populer di kalangan masyarakat urban Indonesia, khususnya di Jakarta. Namun sangat disayangkan, masyarakat mengenal sorghum sebagai makanan yang merupakan produk impor. Karena itu, kebanyakan orang menganggap sorghum hanya cocok diolah untuk masakan ala barat. Nyatanya, menurut liputan 6.com, sorghum bisa diolah menjadi beragam kuliner Indonesia yang lezat seperti nasi goreng hingga bakwan. Berita selanjutnya datang dari harga emas Antam. Harga emas batangan bersertifikat Antam, keluaran logam mulia PT Aneka Tambang Tbk ANTM turun pada Selasa 31 Agustus 2021. Mengutip situs logam mulia, harga pecahan 1 gram emas Antam berada di Rp944.000. Harga emas Antam ini turun Rp7.000 dari harga pada Senin 30 Agustus 2021 yang juga berada di level Rp951.000 per gramnya. Sementara itu, harga buyback emas Antam berada di level Rp836.000 per gram. Harga tersebut turun Rp6.000 dibandingkan dengan harga buyback pada Senin 30 Agustus 2021 yang ada di Rp842.000 per gramnya.
Hi everyone, my name is Dasha and I will be your host for this week's Weekly Review. Now, on this week's Weekly Review, first up on the news, coming from Tokyo, Japan, continuing from the last Olympic, now it's time for the Paralympics 2020. As we all know, the Paralympics is an international sport competition for athletes with disabilities. The Paralympic that is held from August 24 until September 5 has 22 sports with 4,537 athletes. In the 2020 Paralympics, there's 2 sports that doesn't have an Olympic counterpart, which is the boccia and the goalball. Knowing that the last Paralympic in 2016 in Rio smashed TV viewing records with a 4.1 billion cumulative audience, the 2020 Paralympics is expected to surpass that number. Number 2, Because of the flash floods and tornadoes that hits the northeastern US, at least 9 people have died, local media reported. Several people were trapped in the basements of their flooded homes, while a body was found in a drifting vehicle. The governors of New York and New Jersey declared a state of emergency, and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio called it a historic weather event. Nearly all of New York City's subway lines have been closed, and non-emergency vehicles are banned. Many flights and trains from New York and New Jersey have been suspended. The mayor of the city of Passaic in New Jersey, Hector Lora, told CNN that the body of a man in his 70s had been recovered from a vehicle that had been swept away by a flood. NBC New York reported that at least another person has died in New Jersey. NBC and AFP reported that 7 people died in New York City, some after being trapped in their basements. A 2-year-old boy was among the victims in New York City. Footage on social media showed water pouring into subway stations and people's homes and flooding roads. Flood emergencies, as opposed to warnings, are issued in very rare situations when a severe threat to human life and catastrophic damage from flash flooding is or is imminent, the NWS said. Last but not least, thousands of people protested in downtown Bangkok on Thursday, demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, saying that they would return every day until he leaves the office. The demonstration at Asok Crossing Central Bangkok was one of the biggest gatherings of the year, despite warnings from police earlier in the day that protests were banned due to coronavirus restrictions. Protests against Prayut have been gaining momentum since late June, when groups that called for his sacking last year returned, with wider support from people angered by the worsening coronavirus situation. Thailand has recorded more than 1.2 million infections and 12,103 deaths since the pandemic began last year, with most cases and deaths occurring since April this year. Demonstrations are also taking place as Prayut faces debate in Parliament in a condemnation debate that began earlier this week. The political opposition has accused the Prime Minister and 5 other cabinet ministers of corruption, economic mismanagement, and careless response to the coronavirus. Prayut and his ministers have rejected opposition accusations and defended their performance before Parliament. That's the end of our list for this week's weekly review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for listening. I am community, I am smart, I am capable.